I wish to talk about Rome because it is my city, the one in which I live. It is one of the most beautiful cities in the world and interesting from a historical, artistic and religious point of view. I hope I have succeeded in giving a true picture of this kaleidoscopic, fascinating city that I love so much. My walks even take me to the most representative monuments like the Colosseum, the Pantheon and St. Peter's, and down the medieval alleys of Trastevere and the Ghetto, where I came across some of the many, often unknown towers in Rome. I imagine walking with a tourist. Together we stroll through the history of the city, which changes from prosperous period to the other of decadence. But Rome has also been able to flourish again, and perhaps it is known as the Eternal City, because every stone has a history and every footstep treads on history. Rome has so many interesting buildings that only a few days are not enough to see everything. But you only need to throw a coin in the Trevi Fountain and you will come back for sure. We start our walk from Hadrian's Mausoleum, known as Castel Sant'Angelo. The name comes from the statue of the Archangel Michael who appeared to Pope Gregory the Great during the plague in Rome in 590. The mausoleum, built between 123 and 139 by Hadrian, has since played many roles: outpost of the Aurelian walls, citadel and jail, until 1870, when Rome became capital of Italy. Within its walls, Benvenuto Cellini and Giordano Bruno were imprisoned. It was also the residence of the popes, who escaped during periods of political uncertainty through the famous Passetto. Walking down Via della Conciliazione, we reach St. Peter's Square, surrounded by Bernini's wonderful colonnade. The basilica stands on Nero's Circus, where many Christians were tortured. The Apostle Peter was buried here. More than a century was needed to build the basilica, where, under Michelangelo's magnificent dome, the most famous Renaissance and Baroque artists left their masterpieces. As you enter the basilica, you will be overwhelmed by the grandeur of its interior, by the immense space in which more than 20,000 people can gather. St. Peter's represents the triumph of Roman Baroque. We still have a lot of things to see, so we better take the underground and get off at Piazza del Popolo. This square, at the foot of the Pincian Hill, is one of the most famous in Rome, and three of the city's main shopping streets, Via del Corso, Via del Babbuino and Via di Ripetta, lead into it. On one side of the square stand the twin churches of Santa Maria di Montesanto and Santa Maria del Popolo. At the center of it there is the Egyptian obelisk, originally brought to Rome by Augustus to embellish the Circus Maximus. The basins and the lions were added by Valadier. Del Popolo, the splendid entrance to the square, is set in the Aurelian walls. Bernini was commissioned to redesign the gateway for Christina of Sweden's visit to Rome. On the right you can admire the Church of Santa Maria del Popolo. It was built in 1099 and rebuilt in the Baroque period. It conserves two paintings by Caravaggio, the Conversion of St. Paul and the Crucifixion of St. Peter and the Nativity by Pinturicchio. We go along Via del Babbuino until we come to Piazza di Spagna, the Spanish Steps, one of the most famous squares in Rome. It has the form of a butterfly and was known as the Platea Trinitatis till the 17th century because of the Church of the Trinità dei Monti. It was then renamed Piazza di Spagna after the Spanish embassy that was close by. The steps of Trinità dei Monti are a typical example of Baroque architecture. Barcaccia Fountain, a masterpiece by Bernini with a sculpted boat typical of those once used on the Tiber, stands in the center of the square. From here, we take Via del Corso and go to the Pantheon, considered by Michelangelo to be of angelic and not human design. The place where it was built was not chosen by chance. In fact, according to legend, it stands on the spot where Romulus, the founder of Rome, was carried away by an eagle after he died to join the gods in the sky. The only light that enters the building shines through the oculus, the hole at the center of the dome. The Pantheon was considered a real cultural revolution, as it was the first temple built for common people. At the beginning of 17th century, it became a Christian church dedicated to Saint Mary and all the Christian martyrs, and was renamed Santa Maria ad Martires. Just a few blocks away we come to Piazza Navona, one of the most beautiful squares of the city. It was built over Domitian Stadium, and public spectacles, games and even simulations of naval battles were held in it. The Egyptian obelisk in the center of the square rises from the Fountain of the Four Rivers by Bernini. In front of the obelisk there is the Church of Saint Agnes, designed by Borromini. From Sant'Andrea della Valle we continue to Piazza Venezia and the Capitoline Hill. Since antiquity, the latter has been an important place for the city, first as a religious center and then as a place of power, as the seat of the Roman Senate. It was renamed Monte Caprino due to the custom of leaving goats and other animals to graze there. Its appearance today is the work of Michelangelo, who designed the spectacular terrace, not large but grandiose and harmonious, which dominates the past, the Roman Forum, and the present, modern Rome, gravitating to the statue of Marcus Aurelius. This wonderful example of imperial equestrian sculpture is one of the few ancient bronzes that was not destroyed or melted down, perhaps because it was thought to represent Constantine, the first Christian emperor. Michelangelo also designed the Cordonata, the imposing flights of steps. On one side of Piazza Venezia we can admire Palazzo Venezia, the first important building of civil architecture of the Roman Renaissance, and nearby the Altare della Patria. Crossing the Roman Forum we reach the Colosseum, symbol of the Roman world and the imperial city. It was inaugurated by Titus, Vespasian's son, in 80 AD with solemn festivities which lasted 100 days. The Flavian Amphitheatre stands on the site of the artificial lake built by Nero in front of his extravagant villa, the Domus Aurea, that was surrounded by gardens and woodlands and connected through a series of underground corridors to the palaces of the emperors on the Palatine. The name derives from the enormous bronze statue of Nero that was erected in the vicinity and was known as the Colossus Neronis. We go up on the Palatine, which still today is one of the most pleasant and interesting archaeological sites of the city. This was the residential area of ancient Rome, where all of the most prominent men of the period lived. From the hill we can see the remains of the Circus Maximus, once the largest stadium of ancient Rome. We take a last look at the Roman Forum and its ruins, and try to imagine the temples, the columns and arches in all their ancient glory. My walk ends here, where Rome had its origins. But what about Rome in the future? Some would like to enclose it in an temple, while others would like to see it transformed into a super modern city. Who knows? The only certainty is that it will remain eternal and as magnificent as it has been for thousands of years.